Ladies, let's talk about something bold, something a little dangerous, a little electric. We're not talking about love in its softest, most innocent form. We're talking about power, feminine power, the kind that turns heads, raises standards, and rewrites the story of who holds control. So listen carefully, because today I'm going to say something unconventional. Hurt his ego and he'll never leave you. Now, before you raise your eyebrows, let's be clear. This isn't about cruelty, it's about confidence. It's about the mysterious, unstoppable magnetism of a woman who doesn't need him but chooses him. That right there, that's how you pierce his pride, not with malice but with mystery, with independence. With a silent message that says, I'm complete with or without you. You see, men are wired to conquer, they crave validation, they chase what they can't easily have. And when you become the woman who doesn't praise him like he's a god, when you look him in the eye and say, you're great, but I'm not impressed by potential, I'm drawn to character, you shake the very core of his ego. And in doing that, you awaken something primal, an obsession to prove himself worthy of you. That's the secret. Don't feed his ego, starve it. Let him wonder if he's good enough. Let him chase the approval you never hand out freely. Because when you stop trying to please him, you start possessing him. The moment he realizes he can't control your emotions, can't manipulate your attention, can't predict your reactions, he's hooked. He's thinking about you at night, scrolling through old texts asking himself, why isn't she chasing me? What is it about her that I can't forget? And here's where your real power begins, when you know your worth so deeply that you don't need to scream it. You wear it in how you speak, how you walk, how you set boundaries. You hurt his ego every time you don't reply instantly. Every time you prioritize your goals. Every time you choose peace over chaos, solitude over shallow love. That silent power, that quiet refusal to settle, that's what keeps him addicted. Ladies, this isn't about manipulation. This is about respect. You're not here to be a cheerleader to a man's mediocrity. You're here to be the woman he earns, and when he knows that your affection isn't a gift, it's a reward, that's when he'll fight to stay. That's when he'll wake up every day trying to prove he deserves your time, your energy, your heart. So no, don't flatter him, don't always comfort him. Don't stroke his ego just to keep him. Challenge it. Let him see the strength in your silence, the fire in your standards, the storm behind your smile. Because the truth is, when a man meets a woman who can shake his pride and still hold his gaze, he doesn't leave. He lingers, he learns, he loves. Be that woman, bold, unapologetic, irreplaceable, and remember real power isn't loud. It's quiet, magnetic, and unforgettable. When people hear the phrase hurt his ego, they often misunderstand it as cruelty or manipulation. But true feminine power doesn't operate through malice. It operates through confidence, unshakable, radiant, unapologetic confidence. It's not about tearing a man down. It's about lifting yourself so high that he can no longer take your presence for granted. A woman who knows her worth doesn't need to play games, she becomes the game. That's the kind of energy that stings a man's ego not because she insults him, but because she refuses to worship him. Confidence means you don't chase, you don't beg, and you don't settle. It means you walk into a room and own your space without needing validation. And when you interact with a man, you do so from a place of equality, not desperation. That energy speaks louder than words. A man can tell when a woman is centered within herself, and that very presence challenges his pride. It tells him, you're not the prize, I am. That subtle shift in power is what rattles his ego. This kind of woman isn't loud or boastful. Her confidence is quiet, yet fierce. It's in her tone when she says no. It's in her calm when she doesn't react to emotional manipulation. It's in her grace when she chooses to walk away from what doesn't serve her. That kind of self-assuredness can be uncomfortable for a man who's used to being admired, obeyed, or even feared. When she doesn't fall into line like the others, it bruises his ego. But more than that, it intrigues him, because for once he's not in control. And that loss of power makes him want her even more. You see, hurting his ego through confidence is not an attack, it's a mirror. It reflects back to him all the insecurities he tries to hide behind charm or dominance. It exposes the truth that she doesn't need him to feel complete, and that is what keeps him drawn in. He may try to resist, try to test her limits, try to win her approval. But deep down, he knows she holds the real power, the kind of power that can't be bought, tamed, or faked. So when a woman stops living to please a man and starts living to honor herself, she doesn't just shake his ego. She reshapes his entire understanding of love, respect, and desire. And that is what makes her unforgettable. Men are wired to pursue what feels just out of reach. It's a challenge that ignites their ego, their drive, and even their affection. When something comes too easily, it loses its value in their eyes. That's why when a woman is unpredictable, unattainable, and self-possessed, she captures a part of a man's mind he didn't even know could be owned. When you don't give yourself away too quickly, emotionally, mentally, or even through attention, you trigger something deeper than physical attraction. You activate his competitive nature, and once that's stirred, he's not just interested, he's invested. The moment he realizes that he doesn't have easy access to you, he begins to question why. Why don't you melt when he compliments you? Why don't you jump at the chance to see him? Why aren't you chasing him like others have? Those unanswered questions create a sense of mystery that his ego cannot ignore. He becomes obsessed, not just with your presence, but with what lies beneath it. What is it about you that resists being impressed? What is it about you that stays so calm, so composed when he tries to get a reaction? That mystery fuels his desire far more than anything obvious or immediate ever could. When a man can't predict your next move, he's hooked. If he knows you'll always text first, always show up, always say yes, he relaxes, and not in a good way. He becomes entitled to your attention. But when you create space, when you make him work for your energy, it flips the script. Now he's the one wondering. Now he's the one feeling a little off. Balance, that feeling doesn't push him away. It pulls him in. It reminds him that you are not a reward for minimal effort. You are a woman of depth, and depth demands exploration. This isn't about playing games. It's about understanding your worth. You aren't a trophy on a shelf. You're a storm behind calm eyes, a fire hidden in stillness. And when he senses that he hasn't fully figured you out, his ego takes the hit. But his desire deepens. That contradiction, where you wound his pride but awaken his fascination, is where your power lies. He can walk away from someone who praises him too much, but he can't walk away from someone who leaves him curious, challenged, and captivated. Let him chase, let him wonder, let him work, because when he has to earn you, he'll never forget you. There's something undeniably powerful about a woman who doesn't hand out praise like candy. When you refuse to feed a man's ego with blind admiration, you change the dynamic completely. You shift from being someone who boosts his pride to someone who holds him to a higher standard, and that shift is where true influence begins. Most men are used to being complimented for the bare minimum. A simple smile, a nice outfit, a basic gesture, they're applauded like kings. But when you don't fall into that pattern, when you choose not to reward mediocrity with constant affirmation, it unsettles him in the best way. You become the woman who sees through the surface, the one who doesn't flinch at charm, who isn't impressed by potential alone. Instead, you become the one who responds only to consistency, character, and depth. That silent refusal to celebrate empty effort bruises his ego, not in a way that pushes him away, but in a way that forces him to rise. He starts to realize he can't earn your attention through flash. He has to bring substance, and when a man realizes that, he starts to elevate everything about himself. His words, his actions, his emotional presence. By not feeding his ego, you're setting a boundary without saying a word. You're telling him, I don't need to be dazzled, I need to be respected. You're telling him that your heart is not available to someone who's only offering surface-level effort, and that message spoken through your silence is far more powerful than flattery. It makes him work, it makes him reflect, it makes him try harder, because now winning you isn't about impressing you. It's about becoming better for you. This isn't about being cold or dismissive. It's about being selective. It's about holding your standards so firmly that he begins to respect you on a level that goes beyond attraction. He sees you as someone he must earn, and when a man feels that shift, from being praised without effort to being challenged with grace, his ego might ache, but his commitment deepens. He doesn't just want you to like him anymore. He wants you to admire him, and that admiration can't be faked or forced. It has to be real. So choose your compliments wisely. Don't flatter to please. Speak only when it's deserved. Because when a man knows you don't hand out approval easily, your words become gold, and your presence priceless. Mystery is one of the most powerful forces a woman can embody. When you don't lay all your emotions out on the table, when you don't constantly explain yourself or overcommunicate your feelings, you create an air of unpredictability that confuses and captivates a man. It challenges his ego because he doesn't know where he stands with you, and that uncertainty makes you unforgettable. Most people are used to immediate responses, predictable patterns, and full emotional access. But when a woman chooses to hold something back, not out of manipulation, but out of self-control, she commands a different level of attention. A mysterious woman doesn't beg to be understood. She isn't always available. She doesn't overshare. Her silence speaks. Her restraint carries weight. She walks into a room and you can feel her presence, but you can't quite define it. That's the kind of presence that lingers in a man's mind long after the moment is over. Because she's not giving everything away, she forces him to stay curious. She doesn't just become someone he wants. She becomes someone he needs to figure out, and that journey, that desire to understand her, becomes his obsession. Mystery hurts his ego because it removes control. It denies him the comfort of certainty when he can't predict how you'll respond, whether you'll say yes or even if you'll be around. He starts to spiral inward. He begins to analyze everything. Did I say something wrong? Why hasn't she texted back? What is she thinking? That mental chase becomes more intense than any physical one, and it all stems from the fact that you refuse to make yourself easily accessible. This doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means being intentional. It means keeping parts of yourself sacred, unrevealed, untouched by the world. Your thoughts, your feelings, your time. They are yours to protect, not to hand out freely. And when you live that way, you draw in people who want more than your beauty. You attract the ones who are willing to dig deeper, to earn your trust, to stay patient through the silence. A man who feels entitled to your energy won't know what to do with your mystery. But a man who respects your depth will be pulled in again and again by the power of what he doesn't yet understand. That is the secret to captivating his mind, not with constant presence, but with carefully chosen distance. Not with words, but with the space between them. Because when you are a mystery, you become the story he can't stop trying to read. There is something magnetic about a woman who knows her worth without needing to announce it. She doesn't scream for attention, doesn't fight to be chosen, and doesn't chase validation from anyone, not even from the man she desires. Her self-worth is quiet, steady, and rooted in how she lives her life. She prioritizes her peace, her growth, and her goals without apology, and that kind of energy doesn't just attract, it demands respect. When a man witnesses a woman who doesn't compromise her identity for love, it sends a silent but powerful message. She is not desperate for approval, she is selective with her energy. A woman who holds herself with self-worth won't overextend herself for someone who only gives her crumbs. She doesn't rearrange her world for inconsistent affection. If he calls, she may answer. If he doesn't, she carries on. There is no drama, no chasing, no performance. Her time is valuable. Her emotions are sacred, and her peace is her priority. That type of emotional control isn't just rare, it's captivating, because it shows a man that she isn't afraid to lose him. She's only afraid of losing herself. This subtle display of confidence disrupts the dynamic that most men are used to. They are accustomed to women proving their value, trying harder, giving more. But when he meets a woman who leans back instead of forward, who doesn't flinch when he pulls away, he begins to question what makes her different. It bruises his ego in the most delicate way. He wonders why she doesn't need him to feel whole, and that wonder turns into admiration, then obsession. When a woman lives with self-worth, every decision she makes reinforces it. She doesn't tolerate disrespect. She doesn't justify red flags. She doesn't hold on to someone who's unsure about her. Instead, she moves with grace and assurance, knowing that the right person will never make her doubt her value. That behavior alone inspires a man to rise higher. It makes him look inward and ask himself, am I worthy of her time, her love, her loyalty? He knows he can't manipulate her emotions because she's emotionally independent. That stings, but it also awakens something deeper in him, the desire to be better, true self. Worth is quiet. It's in the way she walks away without fear. It's in the boundaries she enforces. It's in the silence she keeps when words aren't necessary. And that silence, that calm control, is what makes her unforgettable. Because in a world full of noise, a woman who respects herself is the one who echoes longest in a man's mind. When a man meets a woman who doesn't crumble under pressure, who doesn't break down just to keep him around, and who won't bend her standards for fleeting affection, something shifts in him. He's used to being admired without having to do the work. But when she stands firm, when she challenges him without saying a word, his ego takes a hit, and his respect for her begins to grow. That's the paradox that keeps him hooked. The very thing that hurts his pride is what makes him desire her even more. She's not there to flatter him. She's there to test the depth of his character. A woman like that doesn't tolerate excuses. She doesn't reward laziness or inconsistency. She holds herself to a standard and expects the same. If he steps out of line, she doesn't lecture him. She simply pulls away. That silence hurts more than any argument ever could. It tells him she values herself enough to walk away rather than settle, and when he realizes he's not needed, but rather chosen, his entire approach to her changes. He no longer sees her as a woman to conquer. He sees her as a woman to earn. Men respect what they have to work for. When a woman doesn't make herself easy to reach emotionally or mentally, he starts to invest differently. He becomes more intentional. He watches what he says. He thinks before he acts, because deep down he knows that if he missteps, she won't wait around to be hurt twice. That accountability awakens a deeper sense of maturity in him. Not because she demands it, but because she lives it. This kind of emotional challenge builds more than attraction. It builds foundation. It creates a dynamic where he grows not because she forces him to, but because her presence makes him want to become someone worthy of her. It stings at first. His pride might resist. He might even pull back. But when he reflects, when he sees that she didn't react, didn't chase, didn't break, he realizes she's not like anyone else. She stands tall where others might fold. The more she challenges his immaturity with her grace, the more she exposes his need to evolve. And when a man is pushed to grow in the presence of a strong woman, he begins to understand that love isn't about being worshipped. It's about being worthy, and once he sees that, he won't want to leave, he'll want to stay, because she didn't just capture his attention. She reshaped his understanding of love, respect, and power. Thank you.